Chapter 35. The Revenge of the Scarlet Eagles. The New Year and Christmas had ended. The year 2012 began, on Monday, January 8, 2012. Marycross was in her bedroom at the Asgard Ranch studying and doing her homework to send it before the end of the week to pass the courses. Summer, in a distance education system for the home, in order to be able to take their 11th year courses with their friends. She had mentioned to the others that she was occupying some space this vacation so she could get out of all that mess at school and quickly catch up on her courses. Angie was preparing to visit that morning on Mackenzie Street, where she would go to a new restaurant called Laura's Place with Alessio, Bastian and Angelica. At the ranch, Tony and Roger were continuing with their crops in the greenhouse. They were starting a coffee production project for breakfast. Naomi was on the terrace talking with Liza, Fergie, Mariah and Emily. There were other groups that were still investigating the prophecy. Priscilla was answering some doubts that Mayra and Alessandro had about her group. In addition to the supervision of the rest of the groups by Alvord, Chaka, Adrian and Louis, Gavin was at a table, writing a letter to Katie to invite her to walk one of these days in the afternoon. Although he remembered that she was also studying and doing homework like Marycross, so he asked her in his letter if she had free time. He went to the mailbox in front of the black home and left her letter there for the mailman to pick up and take to her destination a few streets up the road in the Green Hills neighborhood. After this, Gavin ran into Daniel Black and Jones Orange on the stairs of the ranch. "Where are you going?" Gavin asked with great curiosity. "We're going to the toy store in the Central Market," Black answered. "Do you want to come with us?" Jones asked. "Sure, let's go," Gabby answered. "Gabby asked us to buy some toys and dolls for tomorrow, and we'll look for something for us to have fun with here this vacation," Black said, and the three of them left for the lamp. Once in the Central Market, the three put on their hoods and headed towards the toy store, Black commenting that Gabby had given them 10,000 rods to look for the best toys and dolls for Tammy. When they arrived at the place, they entered through a door that had 2 Nutcracker soldiers on its columns, quite large, and once inside a boy attended to them. "Welcome from the Pizcet toy store. How can I help you?" asked the clerk. "We just came to buy some toys," said Jones. "Well, in that case, know that in the first aisle there are toys for girls and boys under 3 years old. In the second aisle you will find dolls and action figures, in the third aisle vehicles, model boats, in the fourth hallway some games of pinball, pachinko, cards, poker, and finally, in the last aisle you will find inflatables, clothing, party supplies and some Fudblaze balls," argued the clerk. The boys advanced through the store where in the first aisle all the toys began to activate themselves, making sounds and spinning incessantly. In the next aisle, there were some toys like green war soldiers and some horsemen, natives and cowboys. As the three walked through this hallway, the soldiers and the cowboys exchanged shots and arrows between them, hitting the boys. In the next hallway, there was a huge clown with his arms outstretched, smiling, with one eye half closed and the other open. With red hair, white makeup, red nose and blue clothing, the clown divided 2 hallways. In one there were toys from outer space, such as solar systems and spaceships, a room that was quite dark due to the stars, and in the second room, some boxes with cereal and cookies from the Hallmark's candy store that they sold here. In the space corridor, the ships began to move, as if they had life. Black took a ship in his hands and noticed that all the toys sold here were manufactured on the great campus. "These toys are cursed, no wonder. Another of the inventions of that stupid technological race in that factory," Black told the boys. In the dinosaurs and wild animals section, they all came to life and set the place as if they were in the jungle itself. In the hallway where large wooden cubes and life-size crayons were, they began to fall and roll. This place is horrible. Let's take the lifeless toys and get out of here, said Jones. So in the stuffed animal aisle, while some were jumping on them and others were bursting out of Jack-in-the-Box boxes, they found some dolls and other toys that were normal, took them, paid for them and left the toy store, and immediately returned to the ranch to give Gabby her petition. While all this was happening, at Katie's home, she had received Gavin's letter. Oh, how nice. He sent me a letter. He probably wants to take a walk around the neighborhood. I'll respond later. I need to clear my head for a while after the study marathon I just had, said Katie as she left the letter in her room next to the diamond spheres that he had given her last month. Katie left her home that afternoon and decided to walk alone through the Green Hills neighborhood. She planned to walk to a small park in this neighborhood, get there and return home to continue studying. What she didn't know was that there was a guy, a few meters away from her, who was following her. After walking for a few hours, she arrived at the small park, where there were some swings, a seesaw, and a slide. She sat on one of the swings. The place was completely alone. A few minutes later the mysterious subject arrived. Who was wearing black pants and a gray button-down shirt. Hello, good afternoon, said the subject. Good afternoon, Katie replied very politely. Could I sit down and chat with you for a moment? Miss? Asked the subject. Better not. I don't talk to strangers. Besides, I was already leaving, said Katie. Yes, sorry, how rude of me. My name is Gary Gascoigne. I am a member of the CPC. Leader of the Special Forces of the Sentinels of Lunesk, said the subject. What do you want from me? Asked Katie. We know that you are new in our town, and we would just like to inform you about something very important, said Gary. Do that is? Katie asked. Do you know this young man? Asked the subject while from his pocket he took out several wanted photographs of the members of Asgard Ranch and the Jade Clovers. Yes, it's Gavin Fowler. How do you know him? Katie asked, surprised. Ha ha ha. Everyone knows him. He is part of the rebel group of the First Sin, along with his friends, said Gary laughing. Well yes, I know that. But I know that he and they are innocent, said Katie calmly. Ha ha ha. Girl, that's what they want you to believe, said Gary. Believe? What do you mean? Katie asked disdainfully. Ha ha. The rebels do not mention that. That group are people with double identities. They have murdered high-ranking people, kidnapped them. They stole all the money of the town a few months ago. In their homes they are watched by our sentinels 24 hours a day. They can only leave them to attend classes, since a law allows them to continue studying, and soon their plan is to end everything we know as nature, said Gary maliciously. It's not true, Katie shouted sharply. Well, think what you want. Your family, do you sell plants? It is not like this. If these rebels take control, I fear that your family's trade in plants will be affected by the ruin and devastation that these scoundrels plan for the town, said Gary. What are you saying? Asked Katie with an expression of confusion. The truth, Gary stated. You lie. Katie shouted furiously. Gary took out a large purple crystal sphere from his pocket and told Katie to put her hand on it. She agreed. He took and closed his eyes. This sphere showed the ruin and devastation that was approaching in the town, the destruction of places, invasion of henchmen, kidnappings, murders. Nature no longer existed and how his family no longer had raw materials, plants, to continue with her work. After this, Katie opened her eyes again. Well, that, my friend, is the truth. If you want to know more about these rebels, it would be a great help to find them. It is said that they have a secret lair where they plan their next attacks, said Gary. I'm going to hand you over to them so they can give you what you deserve, Katie said with an angry expression as she took the amulets from her necklace ready to summon Coco and Cleo. That's right. I feel a conflict of love and hate inside you. You feel confused, don't you? Said Gary, smiling evilly. I'll find out the bottom of all this myself. Katie exclaimed, I read your mind. Seeing your hands, palmistry gives me extraordinary powers. I know what torments you, in your mind. I see it in your eyes. You are afraid that what I showed you will come true. Listen to me. Come with me, and I will show you the true destiny of this place. Stay away from the clovers. Said Gary, I must think things over to find out the fate of all this. Said Katie, taking her gaze away from Gary. You are very wise, Catherine. Know the truth and protect your loved ones. Loved ones. From a ruin and devastation from the supremacy of those rebels. Gary said, putting his hands in his pockets. Katie put her necklace back between her collar of her shirt, stood up and looked towards the plants and trees that were in the place. If you really want to know the truth about all this, you can visit our lair near the great campus. Gary said, and she did not answer him anymore. Running towards her home, a cloud of conflict was in the air. His mind, his angry expression was very noticeable. Upon arriving home, she locked herself in for hours and days, thinking about what Gary Gascoigne had told her. Katie looked out on the terrace on the second level of her home where there was a plant greenhouse and looked toward the horizon one afternoon, where in the background, the enormous tree of the Asgard ranch could be seen. In his mind, a voice spoke to him saying, you know very well that, if you do not know the truth, all hope of saving your loved ones will be lost. And then she read Gavin's letter and was thinking about how to respond to him. Her eyes began to water. Tears fell on the paper of the letter in her hand and she looked towards the horizon, thoughtful. Her internal conflict was tormenting her. While this was happening, Gavin at the Asgard ranch, lying in his bedroom, was still waiting for his friend's response through the letter. After this, Gavin told Marycross in the ranch's common room that he had sent him a letter to Katie to meet with her, but she had not responded. Marycross said that she had not seen her for days. Days passed. On January 22nd, Hector was in the mailbox of the Black home, and he noticed that among the letters that were there was one for Gavin, and he went to look for him in his bedroom to give it to him. Hey Gavin. You have correspondence, said Hector as he knocked 3 times on the wooden door. He opened it. Gavin took the letter quickly and opened it, and the letter said the following. Hello Gavin. I'm Katie. I'm responding to your letter from last time. I don't want you to talk to me again. I know what you and your friends are planning. I was wrong when I offered you my trust. You only want to use me for your plan to take control the town, destroy everything in your path, even nature. You are following a path that I can go on. You will say that your team is with the people, with peace and the environment, but they are fallacies. I do not want to see you again, neither you, nor Marycross, nor anyone who has a connection with you. Please do not answer this letter. Leave the sermons. Karma will fall on you. I am not spiteful, but when a person deceives me and harms me, it is difficult for me to accept that person back into my life. Bye-bye. Gavin couldn't believe what he was reading. His heart was broken to see that a new friend he had made no longer wanted to talk to him, and he felt like in his mind, the dark storms of loss of loved ones, temporary friends, were again emotionally hurting. That afternoon there was a storm. While he looked out of his bedroom window, with his teary eyes, he decided to wait for the sadness to pass, and when he left the room, Hector, Roger and Black came up the steps. The 3 of them noticed that their friend was not well, so they decided to ask him, is something wrong? Black asked, what torments you? Roger asked, is everything okay? Hector asked, to which Gavin replied, it's nothing, I'm fine, and he continued on his way until he met Joel, and Gavin asked him, do you know where Marycross is? She's in the common room, he said. Joel and Gavin went to the living room, where only their friend was reading a literature book in one of the armchairs. What's going on? And that face? Mary Cross asked. It's Katie. She answered my letter. Look, someone has made her believe something she's not, Gavin said. So Mary Cross took the letter and read it. Someone must have manipulated her mind to make her believe that we are the villains, Mary Cross argued. But who could have done something like that? All of that is false. I am devastated. Just when I had grown fond of her, said Gavin with a broken voice. Calm down, don't get upset. There was a high chance that this would happen, said Mary Cross. What do we do? I need to do something. Get my friend back, Gavin said desperately. First, you need to calm down. We don't gain anything if you act like this. Don't try to go to her home to ask for explanations. I feel that the best way to get to the bottom of all this is to wait for classes to start. There we will go to talk to her during a break. And also, let things take their course, said Mary Cross. But what if this is a plan to make her a bad person and turn her against us? Said Gavin. That's what I mean about things taking their course. We must wait. I imagine that the witch Sylvanisha is behind this. She will try to use her to attack us this summer. We must call a meeting, Mary Cross concluded. While this was happening, Katie in her home, still thinking, looking towards the horizon, she spoke to her conscience saying, I feel a conflict inside me, but if I don't do this, I won't know the bottom of all this. I must know the truth in the another side. Only then will I come to the conclusion of what I want. So she changed her clothes, put on dark clothes, her lips were dark and left her house. After an hour, Katie arrived at the great campus, a large place with huge concrete and metal buildings, huge boilers, chimneys. Many people walking through the streets with their yellow helmets of hard workers, the sound of machines working, saws, hammer blows from all the sections where the latest in technology, weapons, and so on were manufactured. After moving through the entire place, in the back, Katie reached a kind of glass dome. It had a nest shape. This place was called the Morp CPC Building Number 13, where access was restricted, but when she stepped the main door opened, and Gary Gascoigne was at the entrance. I knew you would come. A wise decision, young summoner. You have reached your destiny. Come in, come so you can meet some important people who will help you in what you are looking for, Gary said. I will do what you tell me. Show me the truth. Help me save my loved ones. I can't live without them, Katie said with a broken voice and an expression of sadness and hatred on her face. Come with me, Gary exclaimed. After walking through the corridors of this place, they arrived at an office, a place with walls of gray color, a red carpet, and in front, there were 3 red seats, where each one had an eagle imprinted on it. One of the chairs turned around and a boy in a black polyester dress, with long straight hair, dark skin, got out. Katie, meet the supreme leader of the Scarlet Eagles, Dan Lizard, said Gary. Welcome, Katie. Are you ready to know the whole truth? Dan asked. That's right, Katie responded very seriously. I would like to introduce you to another very important person for us. Our leader, said Dan, and after these words, from the other seats in the room, Gary Gascoigne transformed into the Sylvanisha witch. Good afternoon, young lady, said the witch, who was dressed in her school director's clothes, a white tunic and her silver veil. Who are you? Katie asked. I am the director of the Rhoda School. I have come to show you the truth. I imagine that you have. I have heard that I am the witch, but that is not the case. I have come to offer you a reward, since you are about to enter the school. Said Sylvanisha. Reward? Asked Katie. She offers you the assignment to the House of the Scarlet Eagles, in the 11th year. Here, not only will you develop great skills as a summoner, also, in case things get terrible from the rebels, you and your loved ones will be able to save yourself. he said, Dan, you are powerful, you would be an excellent student in this house, and with your summoner powers, we will have unimaginable powers to stop the rebels, said Sylvanisha. What kind of powers? Katie asked curiously. A power that is not compared to anyone else, said Dan as he took out of his clothing his guitar, and with his other hand, he took out from its mast a powerful sword. Where using it he launched a powerful attack. Katie was surprised. What do you think? Said the witch, smiling very calmly, but if this is true, I would like to know the intentions of the Clovers. Said Katie, put your right hand on my hand and I will tell you. I will show. Said the witch, and Katie took her hand. Sylvanisha put her hands on top of their heads. They both closed their eyes and the witch projected in her consciousness some images where the boys from the ranch were seen talking about the plans of kidnappings, murders, the theft of the city hall vault, and soon, destroying the town and nature. After this, Katie opened her eyes again. Damn! It just can't be. It was all true, said Katie angrily. Now the truth runs through your veins, with great intensity, I can feel it, mentioned the witch. I will do what you ask me. You, said Katie while something inside her made her stand up. Crouching in some pain inside her, agree to join the House of the Scarlet Eagles, said Dan. At that, Katie's eyes began to change tone, and she fell to the ground, unconscious. The witch Sylvanisha took her arm and impregnated a seal of a red eagle on his arm, like the one Dan and the other members of the House of Eagles had. Then, Sylvanisha put her hands on top of her head and said in Mo language, our colors, our clothing, you will adapt to this new identity, your identity will be changed, said Dan. Now you will be known as Lenora. Rise, said the witch raising her hand. Lenora, can you hear me? Asked Dan. Katie began to wake up. Her amber eyes had turned into red and yellow eyes. Her expression had changed. Her face only seriousness and vengeance were seen. She stood up and said, yes, Supreme Leader. Well, your new congregation has been completed, said the witch. What will we do now? My beloved witch, Lenora asked. Now, we must act immediately. From this moment on, all the Jade Clovers are your enemies, including your old friends, Gavin Fowler and Marycross Toadsworth, said Dan. I understand, said Lenora, shaking her head affirmatively. If we don't destroy the Jade Clovers, there will be a war. But we will take them by surprise. Lenora, you must tell us where their place is lair, said Sylvanisha. In Green Hills, the enormous tree awaits the anonymity of Asgard Ranch, said Katie. My lady, do you suggest an immediate invasion of that place? Asked Dan. No, it would be risky, with them there. We must think of a way to get them out of that place, attack them, and when their ranch is neglected, we will carry out the invasion. I will tell them to execute my order, said the witch. Vanessa, he told me that he has been investigating. Several of them will leave that place to do some errands. It is a good time to attack them, and when they find out that their allies are in trouble, they will leave that place like cockroaches, and there, we will do the invasion, said Dan. What should I do? Katie asked. Lenora, infiltrate the town, look for their unsuspecting allies. Attack them, have no mercy, do not hesitate, in your mind. I will give you my signal, said Sylvanisha. As you say, my lady, said the summoner. And after this conversation, Katie, now known as Lenora, left this place. Dan smiled with a malevolent expression, and the witch Sylvanisha dissipated from the place behind a cloud of smoke. At the ranch that same day, Marycross and Gavin gathered the rest of the group to talk about what happened. The other members of the ranch believed that it had been risky to bring Katie to the ranch, since she knew the location of the ranch. Furthermore, she did not. They knew exactly how she was going to be used through the witch's evil plans. A plan is being made against us, I imagine, said Black. I had a feeling that this would happen. The eve of the last year at Rhoda School would bring with it the beginning of the final battle, declared Angie, who was sitting next to Black. We must wait, as I said, for things to take their course, said Marycross. We must prepare, said Priscilla. What do you think might happen? Asked Naomi. We must be informed of the news or the newspaper, said Bastian. The time has come to unite even more, Tony shouted, raising his fist upward. Friends, if someone leaves the place, be careful. Someone we thought was an ally. May is on the other side, said Angelica. You're right, it's a high alert out there, said Lewis. Dark times await us, added Roger. We must have our weapons ready. In case of anything, said Emily. I will inform Joel about ammunition and weaponry on the Zeppelin. I had heard that the great campus again created weapons and machines. The witch's weaponry is growing, said Chaka. What kind of weapons? Asked Gavin. A four-wheeled speed vehicle, for one person, like a single-seater, Gavin answered. On January 24, 2012, in the afternoon, many members of the ranch support groups had left the ranch to carry out some errands that they had to do. The first of them was Richie Brennan. He left the ranch towards the Central Market to buy a bottle of wine to take in a few weeks to Professor Arnold of music for his inclusion in the Performing Arts Club. Also, Aaron and Nick took the interstate highway to go towards the frozen route in search of some materials to build a field of fudblesse at the ranch. And finally, Mariana had told Aura that she would go alone to plant a pine tree on Death Mountain so that next Christmas it would be grown and she would bring it back to the ranch. Aura told her to go alone, since she was feeling a bit migraine-ridden. At around 4 in the afternoon that day, while Richie had left the store in the Central Market with the bottle of wine, he was preparing to return to the ranch, when suddenly, on one of the streets, he noticed an approaching a small four-wheeled vehicle at full speed with a pilot with a hood whose face could not be seen. Richie only saw a white glow and then a shower of sharp ice needles impacted his abdomen. Richie fell to the ground injured, and had no strength to get up. He said, Who are you? Poe, why did you do this? You have hurt me, Richie said while he couldn't stand the pain in his abdomen. I'm your worst nightmare, he said in a very low, feminine and mysterious voice, which got into the vehicle and left. Richie, a little dying and low on energy, took the nav from his pocket and called the ranch, indicating that he had been attacked and was in very poor health on the sidewalk of the street. Meanwhile, at the ranch, Gustav receives the message on the central nav of the meeting room. Guys, it's Richie. I was attacked by a mysterious individual. I have little time left. Help. Give me. Richie said in the message while he was dying, so Gustav ran to the bedrooms to look for Black or Gavin to inform them. Gavin. I have terrible news, Gustav shouted. What's wrong? Gavin asked. It's Richie. They have attacked him, very close to the Central Market. He just sent a message to the nav in the meeting room, Gustav mentioned. So Gavin and Gustav went in search of the others, where they found Arthur. He had also heard the message. So everyone quickly gathered together. We must contact Nick, Aaron, Mariana. They are still outside. It could be dangerous, Angie said. I will try to contact them, Roger shouted. Immediately deploy a support group. Alvord, I, Leonard, Gustav, Arthur, Franklin and Jones. We will go to Richie's aid, said Black, and while he said this, Aura turned on the television in the common room and everyone observed another unfortunate event. In the Don Maki dojo of Sensei Wong Beck Park and his wife Hinata Nakamura, they had been killed by a rain of small ice needles. No, damn it. This cannot be happening, Tony shouted as he fell to his knees to cry in the common room. Calm down. Let's go see what happened, said Angie. Tony, Angie, you go to the dojo accompanied by Aura, Yasser, Bastian and Esther, she said. Gavin, but the bad news did not end there. 2 more messages came in towards the main nav of the ranch where Mariana mentioned that a hooded figure was following her on Death Mountain, and after this, Aaron and Nick had had an accident. A rain of ice needles attacked them near the path to the frozen route. "What the hell does this mean?" exclaimed Gavin. "Ice needles in all these events, how strange," said Roger. "Looks like the war has started," said Adrian. "What else can we do?" Naomi asked. "First we must rescue our friends," said Marycross. "Let's make a plan. Rescue teams, everyone. Let's divide into groups, and let Sebastian, Joel, Hector and Katie wait for us in the sectors with the Zeppelin to return to the ranch with the boys so they can recover here," said Priscilla. Thus, all the members of the ranch moved in different teams and attended different places to rescue their friends. The first group near the Central Market was Gavin, Gustav, Alvord, Daniel, Lewis, Leonard, Arthur, Franklin and Jones. They arrived where Richie was on one of the sidewalks. "Richie, talk to me, friend," Leonard shouted. "Richie, we're here, buddy," said Gustav. The other boys were around their friend, watching that no one came. However, Richie did not respond. Everyone was very shocked. Their friend no longer had vital signs. So Gavin and Black sent a message to the nav from the ranch to report that they had arrived too late and their friend had died. But what Richie was most curious about was a note from a red eagle near him. The rest picked them up and wondered if that paper had to do with the Scarlet Eagles. The second group went to the dojo. There Tony, Angie, Aura, Bastian, Naomi, Yasser, Esther, and other boys arrived at this place to look long, since the forensic members of the Lunesk station, Sentinels and the Clinic de Antosca was collecting the last criminological clues and also the lifting of the bodies. After this, through a window of the dojo that was broken, destroyed by the ice needles, the balloons that decorated and provided lighting had burst. The boys entered. Inside, they found very close to the remains of blood, a paper with a red eagle. Angie informed Black and Gavin's group about this, so Black also mentioned that Richie also had this mark. The third group, on the frozen route, arrived Priscilla, Nana, Alessio, Emily, Mariah and other kids from the support group. They went up the street. In the background they could already see the lights of the hill of the Green Hills neighborhood, on the side of the road. Aaron and Nick were on the ground, conscious, but with many blows. They both mentioned that they had seen a hooded subject in a red four-wheeled machine. Mariah used Helaga and it healed her friend's wounds, and some blows they had received, since due to the impact of the ice needles, they decided throw yourself to the side of the road to avoid impact. In the sky, a paper with a red eagle painted on it was falling, which had to do with the clues of the other two groups, so Priscilla reported this to the other groups. The last group, on the heights and cold slopes of Death Mountain, was Mariana, who, like Nick and Aaron, managed to avoid the impact of the ice needles, throwing herself into the plants of the wasteland. Where Mariana, after sending her message a few hours ago, he lost consciousness. He had hit himself very hard. In this group, there were Aura, Paula, Roger, Chaka, Marycross, Mott, Leanne and other members of the support group. Marycross approached Mariana to use Helaga and cure her condition. Mariana recovered. She did not remember anything of what happened. So everyone told her what had happened. On one of her clothes, she had a paper with a red eagle, the same clue as the other three previous groups. So everyone they decided to call Joel, Sebastian, Katie, Eric, Alberth to go out with the Zeppelin of the ranch for the four groups. Everyone asked if they would bury Richie at the ranch, but something happened, and his body dissipated. Marycross commented that this had been the work of Eshin, with people who were kind and fulfilled their mission in life. The Zeppelin arrived for all the groups, and they headed through the air to the ranch. Upon arrival, everyone got off the Zeppelin in the hangar. And when they arrived at the place, they noticed that it was infested with sentinels and members of the Scarlet Eagles. "What the hell does this mean?" said Black. "We have been invaded," said Roger. "How did they know about our location?" "Asgard Ranch is a place in the anonymity of this neighborhood," said Lewis. "We must make battle teams for each segment and thus recover the ranch little by little," said Priscilla. So everyone was divided into teams. The first group was Tony, Gavin, Arthur and Aura. The second group was Angie, Black, Bastian and Alessio. The third group was Adrian, Lewis, Roger and Alvord. The fourth group was Mary Cross, Emily Mariah and Angelica. The fifth group formed by Priscilla, Chaka, Naomi, Liza and Alex. The rest of the support groups decided to wait with the Zeppelin in the hangar while the groups finished off the sentinels that were at the doors of the hangar. Many sentinels blocked certain entrances, so it was up to all the groups to eliminate them through duels. After half an hour of the groups finishing off the enemies, they arrived at the common room, and from there, the 5 groups decided to advance to the meeting room. Meetings, it was the room that they had not freed from the invasion. At the door of the meeting room, Priscilla and Lewis cast Somnuga to put the sentinels who were at the entrance to sleep. They entered and found their worst nightmare: "Welcome home, Clovers." Dan Lizard shouted as he stood on the stand. "You must never leave your home alone," answered a girl named Vanessa Bailey while she laughed evilly. "What the hell are you doing here?" Gavin asked gruffly. "Ha ha ha. Well, if I remember correctly, a few years ago you infiltrated our house at school. I think this is a good time to take revenge for that. In this beautiful place, it would be a shame if we destroyed it," said Dan laughing. "You fool. We've already taken control enough in the other segments by eliminating those silly sentinels, and now we're going to eliminate you," Black shouted. "Ha ha ha. Today we have several surprises for you," Dan exclaimed. "Get down from there. We will tear them to pieces." Angie shouted. "Suzanne." Vanessa shouted, pointing at a girl who began to climb towards the stand, and Tony looked at the stand again and said, "No, it can't be. You." "Hello, Tony, remember? Did you see the surprise I left you at the dojo? And the other surprises with your friends?" said the girl. Tony was shocked and fell as if gravity was pulling him to the ground. He was in shock and couldn't move. "Who the hell is that girl?" Alessio asked. "I think it's someone Tony knows," Aura said. "He had told me that they stopped seeing each other when they were children. They never spoke again, as she took the path in the enemy house," said Arthur. "Well, you too. You'll have to deal with me," said Angie. The girl continued laughing, standing on the table. Next to her was the girl Vanessa, Jimmy Gilmore, and other members of her same grade, of the 11th year of the Scarlet Eagles. "Do you want to see the last surprise?" Dan asked with an evil expression. "When you get down from there, I'll give you what you deserve." Bastian shouted. "Ha ha. Believe me, I don't get any satisfaction from being in this dump. We've only come to introduce you to someone. Feel their pain. Come." "Lenora," Dan said as he raised his hands, and among a group of people a silhouette of a person with a hood and dark clothes appeared. "Lenora?" Gavin asked, looking around. And in the crowd of the Eagles, the person she took off her hood, and Katie appeared, where she saw everyone again, with her yellow and red eyes. The rest of the Scarlet Eagles who were behind her raised their arms and showed them the mark of the red eagle on their arms. Katie also raised her arm and showed everyone her red eagle mark on her arm. "No," Gavin shouted. "Impossible." "Katie," exclaimed Mary Cross. "Why?" "Katie," Gavin shouted in a worried voice. "Katie, listen to me. Don't pay attention to these guys. They are using you. They are the real bad guys here." Mary Cross shouted. "Katie, they and the witch will kill you." They are showing a future that is not true. They are manipulating your mind. These are things that are not true, said Gavin. It's too late for that. I've already realized the truth. They will pay for lying to me, said Lenora. Lying? Katie. We have always demonstrated truth and transparency. Our mission and will is with peace, with nature, said Marycross. I accept the truth that you are Catherine Kwanzaa. The person who is our friend, my friend, it is your name and not the one they gave you, said Gavin. Fool. That name no longer means anything to me. Katie no longer exists. I destroyed her. Lenora was born, said the girl as she showed him again her arm with the mark of the red eagle, without a doubt. Katie is gone. Guys, I can't have a duel with her. I can't. Gavin said as he fell into shock just like Tony. Me neither. Katie, you promised that, if you were assigned to our house next year, you would fight for the prophecy, for peace. Not join them. I know that there is still goodness in you. I know it. I feel it within me. And I know that Gavin feels it too. I swear right here that you will see the light and return to us. After these Marycross's words, everyone looked at Katie, Angie, Black, Adrian, Bastian. They were ready to fight Lenora. While she took out her summon necklace from her clothes and raised her hands. Katie is actually gone. The good person that was in her is gone. She was destroyed, as she said. Lenora. She has completely stopped being Katie to be Lenora, said Marycross. Ha ha ha. This battle is won. Dan shouted. Let's get out of this dump, said Vanessa while she kicked some chairs and broke some windows. Back to the eagle's lair, Dan said, and they left. We'll see each other, Lenora added. All the eagles, under a fog, left the place. Everyone was very dismayed by what had happened. Angie, Black and the others were devising a plan to search for the Scarlet Eagle's lair. And what will happen to the Riddles? That's more important than that girl. Alex shouted. We agree, but we have to stop her, otherwise everything will be lost. You stay here reconditioning the ranch after the invasion and continue with the investigation of the Riddles. We will go to her lair, Angie told them. To all